Welcome back to Noise Extra. I'm Gray Holger, here with Mike Connolly.
Hello.
And Tara Connolly.
Hi there.
And we're here the day before Halloween.
All Hallows Eve.
With the spirit of our friend, Marco Corbelli. Otherwise known as Atrax Morgue. That's how I say it. I'm sure plenty of people say it. Atrax, right?
That's how we say it. Yeah, I'm actually not sure how it would be pronounced, but yeah, we say Atrax Morgue.
Cranium, Mortar Machine,
Slaughter Productions,
Necrophilia, the man behind Slaughter Productions, the premier death industrial label in the world, probably forever, as far as I'm concerned. There's no topping Slaughter Productions.
And we couldn't think of a better project to do for our Halloween episode than Atrax Morgue.
And this one is Paranoia, out in 2000 on Old Europa Cafe, but it just got a CD reissue again this year, 2019, also by Old Europa. And this one, maybe we could have picked Spasmosynthetics, the tape that was actually recorded on Halloween. Unfortunately, I no longer have my copy of that.
I mean, I think we've probably thought we were going to do a lot of different. I think we've all brought up different Atrax Morgues to do, and it was just we kind of ended up settling on this one. I think
they're all going to be winners.
Settled
yeah.
Well, I don't think we settled at all. And anyway, no. But I think at one point Tara and I were thinking about Overcome.
You were pushing for Overcome.
We've talked about Cygnus Report. Hey, you know what? We'll still probably do those episodes.
It's been a wild ride choosing. It was really fun. We had to listen to a ton of Atrax Morgue.
Hey, there's nothing wrong.
Awesome.
It was not a chore to pick which Atrax Morgue we're doing, but Gray actually ended up picking this one.
Well, the reason I picked it is it was in my recent listening. I think it was mentioned in a couple episodes, but looking at the packaging, as soon as you open the jewel case, there's a photo of Marco in drag in like a vinyl dress with a knife in his hand and red lipstick on and a long black wig with bangs. And inside the gatefold, there is a photo of a plastic doll with a knife stuck inside of its genitalia area. And it says, "I entered my room and I found a doll on my bed with a long sharp blade inside her plastic ass. I thought, and finally I recognized that my sister come back again. Sometimes she's really bad and I'm scared. I know how she can be really bad with me."
Yeah, we always say it's a picture of Marco's sister. Like, there's a sister.
This is Marco's sister in the definitely it's Marco as his sister. And in fact, some of the tracks to me feel like they're from Marco's sister's point of view, and some of them are from a frightened Marco.
I was feeling that, but before we fully dive into Paranoia, we're actually going to skip recent listening this week. Instead of recent listening, we're going to focus on discussing something that the three of us bonded on early in our friendship, and something that was very important to Marco, and that being the movie genre giallo.
The best, one of the finest selections of movies you can sit down and watch if you like to watch people getting murdered with razor blades and lots of fake blood splashed everywhere and black leather gloves.
Really good outfits.
Yes, great 70s outfits.
Great wallpaper.
Oh, the wallpaper.
Home decor. Plenty of bottles of J&B whiskey everywhere in sight.
Always.
And it was giallo and this Italian horror was such a big thing. That Marco would talk about in interviews, that would reference on albums, sample and stuff like that. So we thought, hey, we love it too. Let's all kind of talk about some of our favorite giallos and just
Gialli.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You're
Gialli.
right. Here we go. Just me, just saying things wrong. Gialli.
Just email the word Gialli to Mike at noiseextra.com to remind him.
Oh my God. Amazing. So yeah, I think we all kind of picked one that we wanted to talk about. That maybe isn't, there's obviously the kind of top ones everyone thinks of, the Deep Reds and the Tenebres and the Argento movies. And those are all completely amazing, obviously, and they're mandatory viewing. But we kind of wanted to pick some other ones to kind of get us in the giallo Italian mood for Atrax Morgue.
Yeah.
Tara.
What'd you pick?
Well, it's something that we just recently watched. It's called The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, and it is from 1972 from Emilio Miraglia. And what I love about it is it involves kind of like an old mansion and defunct royalty, plus a curse on the family. So essentially the curse comes around and then the sisters are going to slay each other every 100 years and 7 other people. And so they think that the Red Queen has been reincarnated and come back to life. And who's she going to kill? And who's the Red Queen? And what's going to happen to this crazy rich family? And also there's fashion shoots in it, which is like some of my favorite.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like I feel like Giallo needs a good like fashion photographer and a photo spread and just something like weirdly sensual to happen in the middle, and this has all of that.
It's got all of it. And I love too, it does that thing where it sets up the movie. Like in the first 5 minutes, it's like, here's the thing. Like this is gonna happen. It's even in the title, the Red Queen kills 7 times. It's like you're like, I like that you're just kind of like, all right, I know exactly what I'm in for. And with a Giallo, knowing exactly what you're in for means there's gonna be some strange twists and turns. Generally, that you can't predict.
Yeah.
Like, I love when that happens. Sometimes you can.
Yeah, I'd say there's ample red herrings in the Red Queen.
Yeah, there's got to be some red herrings.
A lot of dead ends.
Yeah.
A lot of people just being suspicious for no apparent reason. It's great.
I love that. And yeah, and you know, what a great title, what a great vibe. And this was actually filmed in Germany. Right, because all the signs were German.
Yeah,
but it's still, because a lot of the Italian movies, especially in the 70s, did utilize these big mansions and castles and stuff like that. Well, and this one just being in Germany, and I just love that those sets that they can use.
Exactly.
Such an amazing movie.
So what'd you pick?
Well, I picked a great one that I came to from a poster that Gray had, I believe.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You have the poster of this.
I do have a very beautiful poster for this movie. I know what you're picking, so I can say it without hearing it.
Yeah, it is the movie Torso.
We had to make sure we didn't pick the same thing.
The movie Torso, a.k.a. The Bodies Bear Traces of Carnal Violence.
Which some of you will notice as a title the Rita used for an excellent CD he did. Another huge Giallo fan and someone I'd love to talk to about movies sometime.
Totally.
Another person who knows every movie that has ever been made.
Yeah.
I've seen his Black Gloves and Razors compilation of favorite death scenes is making the rounds again and being screened some places. So hopefully we can get an LA screening sometime.
Oh, heck yeah.
But yeah, Torso, I mean, it's just, it's one of the slasheriest of giallos. It's just a great sleazy, girls in a giant, great house just getting picked off one by one. And then the final third is this great cat and mouse between the killer and the last female. So it's just one of those like, oh yeah, like when you just want just a nice, gritty, nasty giallo, Torso's the way to go, right?
It's a good one. It's really good one.
So good. It's so good.
And that was written by Ernesto Gastaldi and directed by Sergio Martino, my personal favorite director of gialli. Like he's wonderful. His movies are some of my favorites. I believe his brother Luciano Martino was dating Edwige, as people say, or Edwige Fenech, or Fenech. I don't know the actual pronunciation. I've heard it said both ways. And so she's in a lot of the Sergio Martino movies, including my choice.
Oh yeah,
which is All the Colors of the Dark.
Yeah, I would say that's the giallo I associate with.
Yeah,
you
I only
sure.
think of Gray when I see that.
Yeah.
It's long been one of my favorites, and it was made the year before Torso, so right in the pocket. Also written by Ernesto Gastaldi, directed by Sergio Martino, so same pairing. But this one's got this like supernatural, hallucinatory, psychedelic vibe where a woman is haunted by visions of a killer and no one believes her, and she goes to the doctor, and then a friend takes her to a black mass, and everything goes sideways from there. It's really, really good. She, Eviga is gorgeous and wonderful in it. It's got George Hilton. Never mad at George Hilton being in a movie.
It's kind of like the Rosemary's Baby giallo, a Rosemary's Baby influenced giallo in a way. Yeah. I think that is kind of the movie that gets mentioned when All the Colors of the Dark gets mentioned. But I think for good reason, because there is it has that feel to it. You know, no one believes her, the black mass element to it. But this is more, you know, there's these lush, crazy, psychedelic colors that, and these just amazing scenes, amazing set pieces. Yeah, it's one of the best.
It's
It's
so
one
cool.
of the best.
Yeah.
It's certainly the movie I own the most memorabilia for. I have like crazy lobby cards and posters from all over the place. Like I have a really great Turkish poster for it. And just like press books, anything I could buy back in the like 2000s when I was super deep into buying movie stuff I picked up as much of this as I could.
Well, and Tara and I were discussing this last night, and I think something that
We take for granted these days.
Yeah, and something that we also are so thankful that we grew up with is when you know, Gray and Tara and myself were getting deep into this stuff in the 90s, and obviously Marco as well. You know, this is really pre-DVD. It was when we all started getting into this stuff, getting the VHSs, having to find the import VHS.
Terrible copies that are in awful shape and dark.
Yeah, and you didn't all have the information really. So
Right.
there was something different about watching a Giallo in 1998 when you got the VHS and you brought it home. All you had was the cover and the tape, and you put it in, and the intentions felt different, and it just felt it felt grittier, more real, and more. There was like a sketchy element to getting into these movies in the VHS days in the 90s.
Yeah, we're sketchy and sinister.
You know, books, or if there was a book, there was one book and it was kind of hard to find, so you didn't necessarily have that book about, you know, Argento or Fulci.
Yeah.
So you had all these kind of questions, or, you know, the first time we saw, like, you know, Cannibal Holocaust on some bootleg VHS, it feels so much more like, this feels a little bad, or this feels a little.
To this day, I've watched Fulci's Zombie so many times on VHS that when I see a DVD copy of it or a Blu-ray copy of it, it's like it looks like a different movie to me. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
like,
so
what am I
used to
watching?
how
It's so
dark
weird. Yeah.
and crappy, and how different that sort of sold the effects. I love seeing stuff that I've seen a million times on Blu-ray now, where you can see every damn detail, you know, and it looks great. Like that's actually really, really cool. But there's something special. Like I don't know if I'd seen a restored Blu-ray of Texas Chainsaw Massacre if it would have hit me the same way as seeing like a ratty rental VHS tape.
Absolutely. And in addition to all this, that's kind of what we're saying. We are so thankful that, yeah, it's great that these movies in 2019 are being treated like Criterion movies. They're being treated in the way that we all feel about these
because
movies.
they felt like artifacts. Like even the noise that we listened to and the movies that, you know, you would happen upon, it felt like you were getting some like rare artifact. It was like hidden knowledge that you somehow could possess then, and you could like secretly share with your friends.
Yeah, and again, and that was so exciting. I'm so thankful that that's how we all started with movies and music. But yeah, it is really cool now, and it is cool that you can get a 3-disc, you know, set, a Blu-ray set with documentaries and a booklet, and it looks insane, like you've never seen it
And
before.
the interviews are always amazing.
Yeah, the great behind. Yeah, so. It rules that we can do that now, and we're so thankful for it. You know, All the Colors of the Dark just got that great reissue.
Oh boy, did I get it with the All the Colors of Giallo documentary, and Arrow did a book about All the Colors of Sergio Martino, which collects all his film work, and you get to see all this stuff, and
it's awesome.
There's so much more info now.
It's so cool that we get that now. And, you know, Arrow did Red Queen Kills 7 Times, a beautiful Criterion-like edition, and, you know, Torso's been out and everything. So it is really cool, but it's great. I'm so thankful that when we first started getting to this, it was this artifacts. It was these strange visions from another country, and we didn't quite understand it, and it looked so different, and it sounds so different. And that's when Marco was doing this.
Yeah.
That's when he was watching this stuff and being so influenced by this stuff.
And reading interviews from Marco, I did come across, he didn't name his favorite movie and said he didn't want to say his favorite movies, but he did make a movie recommendation in an early interview in, like, you know, in the 90s.
And what is
And it
the
is
movie recommendation?
Cop Killer, The Order of Death. It's from 1983, and it stars Harvey Keitel and John Lydon, a.k.a. Johnny Rotten. So his only starring role in a movie ever. So that's Marco's recommendation.
I've never seen that. Have you, Gray?
No, I know of it, but I have not seen it.
I just looked up images. It looks great.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna seek that one out.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little viewing party.
Yeah, hey, sounds good to me.
And the reason we're talking about Giallo is because it's obviously such a thing that's inspired a lot of Marco stuff, and this CD in particular has some references to some Gialli on it.
Yes.
But this CD is also just such a total trip because it is one thing. The CD is called Paranoia. Mm-hmm. And there's an image of like a face reflected, like bisected by a line. Very simple.
Could be from a giallo.
Yeah, it looks like
not
it could
sure.
be blown out shot from someone screaming from a giallo or something. The titles are all in pink on the back, except for the first track, which is called Blue, which is written in blue. And these 13, actually 14, because there's an unlisted bonus track, were recorded across the span of 3 days in 1999 and 2000. And the tracks are all grouped and they're all placed on the album in the order they were recorded, with a recording date and time next to them, which is pretty cool.
It's so cool. And so much of his stuff, if not all his stuff, is like that, where it's recorded in the moment, no, overdubs, no layering. His relapse CD, Sickness Report, is recorded in the time that it takes to listen to it. He says that in the liner notes. So he does that a lot, and he gives you that like literal, not only is it recorded in one shot, you have the exact time that it was recorded of the day that it was recorded. Like that's
great.
So incredible. And that's obsession. And that's something that obsession is something that Marco, that you see throughout his entire body.
And he really discussed that several times. The fact that he didn't think about the past and he didn't think about the future. He only thinks about the current moment that he's in, and that's where he exists. And then when talking about his sound, like I thought it was incredibly relevant that he produces entire albums immediately, because he is like so present in that moment. He's capturing that one moment in time. And he said, "My sounds are cathartic, like an exorcism." And I love that idea that he's just so possessed by these ideas in the moment that he has to excise them from himself and get them all out. And that's why it's such a wonderful focus.
I think if you've ever been recording while emotional, while afraid, or while angry, you know how that feeling can come through in your sound. And Marco brings that in spades on this record. The setup is all of these tracks are recorded like a synth track or two and vocals, and that's it. And most of the tracks, the lyrics are the song title.
Yeah, with maybe one or two other words, but
or
not
another sentence,
always.
and that's it. Or like a slight variation on it. And it's very direct and very simplistic and very insane. And what makes it really interesting and listenable is the variety of approaches he takes with this synth. He's using the same synth, I think, on every single track. He had a synthesizer. I don't think he ever had like another one or anything else. It's
the palette that you are. It's the Atrax Morgue palette. I mean, you hear this, you know you're in Atrax Morgue land.
And he, it's just a simple, like, direct attack of this thing. And it also, he brings you such different vocal stylings to where, like, sometimes it's totally maniacal and frightening, and sometimes he's cowering and afraid and trying to calm himself down. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he's horny.
Yeah, I mean, he was very, very much this idea of death and sex and being reborn and dying. It was all very much connected to him. This erotic version of death.
Well, he says death is a beautiful woman. And I mean, over and over again, he says that that's what death means to him, is a beautiful, enticing woman. And in terms of like the equipment he used, he said that he only ever used, one synth, 2 pedals, a microphone, and that, when people would ask him about it, he says, I think that the most important thing you must use doing music is your mind.
Hell yeah.
And I just love that sentiment. Like, if you can read any interviews that he did, jump at that opportunity, because it's so entertaining. The things he says are so profound. And really, really, it's somebody who is self-aware. He's aware of his strengths. He's aware of his weaknesses. And he has really, really poignant things to say about them.
And maybe we should note now that Marco's no longer with us. Took his life by hanging on May 6th, 2007. It was one of his obsessions throughout his entire life, and so I hope whatever was waiting for him is what he received.
Yeah, it's something, in interviews he does, hint at that it would be a possibility someday that is, how he would, go. And it's incredibly sad that he's not here to, fill this. Yeah, I always say when people like this are no longer with us, the world is just a little more. There's just a little less color in the world, without him. But
in some way, you could say the world would be a little darker without his presence. But I think, in fact, the world might be a little brighter without his presence.
You know what? Yeah,
because he was such a force of darkness.
Certainly less interesting. I love his perspective that he said that. The dead is dead. He said he never feared death because it was the end of pain. It's the end of suffering. What he feared was disease and suffering, and that people do that in life, and that, you shouldn't fear death because once you're dead, you're not having any more human suffering. So I think he saw it as, maybe a release or a relief. And as he said, it's a beautiful woman escorting you away from pain. So I want to respect like his wishes and his vision of his own demise.
But man, thank whoever that he left us with this amazing catalog of music and
all his efforts with the label, releasing so many international artists and so much death industrial and power electronics and dark ambient music that's just... The world's a different place since Slaughter Productions is no longer operating, and we feel it. And like, as someone who used to order from Marco, I'm very sad by its loss because no one can ever fill that void the way he did. He was 100% real in his interests and in what he liked and in what he presented. Anyone who knew him would say that and have in interviews.
Yeah, his family even says it. Like, if you value authenticity, then value him.
Yeah, this is the real thing. Atrax Morgue is the real thing. Marco is the real thing.
Guys, I forgot to say what Atrax is, or Atrax. It is a venomous
spider,
species
right?
of Australian web spiders. Yes. Funnel web spiders. Haha.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great name.
Yeah, very
Atrax
poisonous.
Morgue.
So
I've always liked the name. I mean, how many projects can put the word morgue in their name and have it not feel cheesy or like, you know what I mean? Like try hard, and it doesn't with him. It's just, it is what it is.
And that's the thing with his whole body of work is like that. There's so many places where done by somebody else, done in another way, it just would fall flat. But it's him, and it's true to him, and it's his obsessions, and it's his ideas and his titles. That's what he says in the Sickness Report CD, the little note from him. All these sounds come from his heart, and that is why he is the real thing, and that's why this is the real thing.
We start off this CD with the song Blue. And I just wrote Blue, no clue. It's there's a little song, and then there's some speaking in Italian and some more music.
It's definitely
it's a movie sample from somewhere, right?
Hopefully, it's not one of the 3 movies we mentioned today. It was like, guys, you didn't realize that.
From what I can understand, it's somebody introducing a symphony piece. It's a blue piano piece, and there's many things called piano in blue. And so from what I could understand, it was just a symphonic production of somebody playing a piano concerto called Blue.
So if anyone out there knows which Giallo or which movie this comes from.
It reminded me of Fantasia, honestly, like when they introduced it in the beginning and then the lovely piano starts, and like what a crazy thing to begin this journey into this deranged album.
Absolutely. Yeah, but seriously, let us know if you do know what movie this is from. We'd love to know, so let us know.
And we follow that introduction with just a cut-in of a haunted, aggressive synth tone, and Marco starts repeating the title of the song to us exasperatedly. You drive, you try.
Wow. And this is very full force.
Yes.
It comes in really just right directly in your face.
The distortion on the vocals is perfect. It's amazing how good it sounds. The synth is crystal clear, and it's playing two notes slowly alternating.
And it has like a giallo feel. I mean, it does have like a feel like in a stalking scene or something with the rising and falling notes.
Because he's not screaming too. It's not like he's like in somebody's face screaming it. It's like he's alone in a room with a microphone, kind of half whispering it to something, and that's what makes it so terrifying.
This whole album, he's alone in a room.
And it's all you can feel. It's all you can think. And
to me, this is one of the sister tracks. You drive me crazy. I'm gonna kill you.
Wow.
Like you drive, you drive me crazy. I'm gonna kill you. Those are the lyrics of the song.
It's probably a sister.
But then we get to the third piece, Leave Me Alone, which just has this low oscillator and this sort of like falling star synth sound on it. It's like he's got an empty tin can he's doing the vocals into. It like moves around a bit and scrapes, and he's just whispering, cowering, afraid, saying, "Leave me alone."
And you can hear like the sound of, as you say, his like tin can microphone, whatever it is. It's kind of like something's clattering on metal, and you're like, what is he doing? Like, is he like dismembering something? What's he working on? Is he at a weird, crazy workstation? It's really creepy and like genuinely frightening.
I feel like every movement in the room is heard. Every single thing he's doing, you're hearing the distorted details of it, and he sounds terrified to me, and I love it.
Yeah, and that synth, I felt it was, the synth was psychotic, but I don't mean that like it's crazy and wild and doing all those things. It was psychotic in this measured way, because it's so like low and tight the way it goes. It's like psychotic in like a knowing way, not some like wild way. It's like it's
unsympathetic.
Yeah. And then there'd be like slight feedback to me. That was the glare of a blade when the feedback would come in, like the blade catches a little bit of light and then goes away.
And for most of the song, he's just saying, "Leave me alone," and I'm disturbed.
Oh my God. It's absolutely just
6 minutes of someone repeating that over a synth that doesn't change. And it's awesome. And you're there for all 6 minutes. You're just listening to it. But near the very end, he says, "Leave me alone. I'm disturbed. I'm dangerous." And it feels like it's starting to turn. Maybe he's turning back into his sister again, or whatever. Like, I feel like I really just love that one. Like one little, a slight change in a 6 minute thing that doesn't change at all, except for that, is so powerful, and it really helps tell the story to me.
And sometimes we say things like, "Wow, this was only 6 minutes, but it could have been 20." Like, I feel that each song is exactly the length that it should be. Like it's the perfect amount of torture.
Yeah, and it's so, and there's kind of longer songs, shorter songs, but I totally agree that it's just perfect. Like, it's just the perfect.
Yeah. I like the short ones being short. It really conveys his message. The 6 minute songs are perfectly 6 minutes, and then they end at just the right time.
The next track, Perfect to Kill, Your Beauty is Your Condemnation.
When I think of this album, this is the song I think of.
Now the synth on this one is panic synth. It is an alarm. Yeah. It is a panicky feeling. Maybe the sister is gonna do her,
Yeah, the vocals are
killing.
Are lower. They feel lower than on the last track. I think because the synth was so much lower in "Leave Me Alone." But "Perfect to Kill" it's again direct. That's a word I'll probably use a lot because he's whispering into your ear. He's telling you what he's doing, and it's
so good.
I love it.
You are perfect to kill. Your beauty is your condemnation.
And the tone is like so unchanging, but because it's so unchanging, it ends up changing. You end up kind of like hearing every little intricate part of that one tone. So it's unchanging, but because it's unchanging, it feels like it's just constantly moving.
Yeah, it's that like inner ear, just like resonant thing. Somebody asked him in an interview who his favorite serial killer was, and he says, I haven't any favorite serial killer or murderer. These creatures are only sad testimonials of the human condition. So I really enjoyed that. But he was interested in it because he had a murder magazine that he did as a young person before he started making noise. He did 3 issues of Murderer magazine.
If anyone's got copies or that wants to scan or photograph those for us, email gray@noiseextra.
Oh my God, email all of us a Noise Extra. I looked for those. I could not find them anywhere. They seem amazing.
I would love to see those. I would love to see those. And after Perfect to Kill, we get a little naughty. We get sperm on red plastic with this simple tone, and then every now and again it hits like a note just to let it decay.
Yeah, it's got that flat line tone.
Yeah.
It's just like you're flatlining on this, and this is the kind of death, sexual, feel. This is where it really comes to light on this album.
Yes.
You get the like extreme isolation, and it feels hidden, and everything is really visceral, and your ears are buzzing, and just the whole track is sizzling. It's very powerful.
His whole vocal style on this is this like beckoning groan, and it's I wrote down how horny was Marco while recording because you can feel it.
Yeah. He's like panting.
I don't know. Sometimes we have conversations and I realize other people don't get the same kind of horny. But like it's, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is that real horny. And
It's sexual obsession.
Yes.
It's something that he is chasing down. It's inescapable. He is compelled to behave in this way. He can't control his impulses. And there's a track later, like the 13th track is called Monomaniac, and monomaniacal means you're obsessed with one thing. It's an old term for psychosis. And so this is truly like, his obsessions getting the better of him and being unable to, free yourself from that obsession. And, I think just hearing the terms, sperm on red plastic, you're just like, yes, like that's absolutely like a fetish and an obsession.
he doesn't actually say the word sperm in the track though.
No, that's true.
He doesn't actually say the word sperm in the track. He says, come, ejaculate on red plastic. And that's it. That's what you get for 4 minutes and 47 seconds.
And the tone is just unchanging throughout. And the tone is so unchanging that it feels like it's changing because it's so unchanging. You're getting the little intricate, minute sounds of the tone because it's going for so long and you're just focused so much on it. It's absolutely just incredible.
Guys, I just realized we might have to put a not safe for work warning on this episode.
Because I said the word horny?
Horny. I know.
Not safe for wimps, maybe.
A lot of H talk.
This is a horny record, and if you can't take it, go find another record to listen to.
Yeah.
And then we're left to wonder, is it enough?
It's never enough.
No.
This has wild vocals on it.
Yeah, there's just piled on layers of delay and reverb, and he's just going. I can't tell what he's saying on this. Actually, this piece reminds me the most of his side project, Mortar Machine, in which he uses a drum machine. I think that's what changes it from being Atrax Morgue, really. But this song reminds me, it's like the closest to sort of something off of Death Show, and which is a fantastic CD that everyone should buy. Like, you go get it.
And it has that sci-fi feel, like the throbbing synth sound, like just pure electronic synth sound.
It's to me, it was the height of the mania. It was because
absolutely,
because this is the last track recorded on the first day of the recording of this album. So the You Drive, You Try up through Is It Enough is all recorded on the first March 4th, 1999. So this was the height of the mania on that day. To me, that's what I was hearing.
This is the fever pitch.
You're in the fever pitch. It's peak synth psychosis. It's peak mania. And is it enough? I mean, this track is
it's unhinged. It's the money shot.
Yeah, this is
all of it.
This is the unhinged because he goes through. Some of the tracks are more controlled, some are more tense, some are more push and pull. This is just he's given into his mania on this track.
Day 2.
Plastic baby pleasure toy.
That's so sexy.
Oh man.
It's that bright fluttering synth, and it starts sort of getting interrupted, almost like some kind of Morse code telegraph beeping under it that's just modulating it. It's so weird.
And he's like squealing in it too. It's that really like, kind of high pitched, like deep in his throat squealing. And I just picture him like holding the doll on the center cover of the CD and like singing to that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's and I bet he would be. I absolutely bet he would have this in his hand or be staring at this while he's recording it. There's no question.
And I like in an interview he said he prefers his women like Barbies who are just kind of open to anything.
Well, here he's got a Barbie with a knife stuck into it, and he's singing to us about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, absolutely. Just.
So this was another. Actually, she's singing to us about it. I'm pretty sure this is
Yes,
the sister.
absolutely.
Right?
This feels. I think
Based on
we
the
all
story,
felt. We all
yeah.
kind of felt that way. That this was kind of the sister taking over on this.
Just
track.
embodying the spirit of a pleasure toy.
But I think that Marco's back, and now all he wants are some high heels inside his throat. This is that desperate, strained, horny Marco again. He is come back from sperm on red plastic, and he's like just reveling in it. And there's a slow, nasty oscillation, and just he'll hit a low note and a high note and a low note and a high note occasionally on the synth, all while saying, "Push down your high heels inside my throat."
Oh my god! And we all were kind of thinking this is most likely a reference to Dario Argento's Tenebrae, which that the high heels play a big part, and high heels down a throat play a big part in.
And
the
his
movie.
Voice nails it. I mean, he really does.
Yeah, it feels.
So,
it was definitely taken to Tenebrae.
It's got one of my favorite lyrics in it.
I think I know what lyric it is, and it was one, and I think the lyric you're going to say, I think we all kind of looked at it and was like, did we just hear, is that what we just heard? And if it is what we just heard, then yes, it might be one of my favorite lyrics in power electronics.
I lick your high heels like an ice cream.
Wow.
So good.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we all heard that.
yeah. But that's that, like I'm saying, that's that, like, he's horny and he's in it to win it. He's like, push your high heels down his throat. If it kills him, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's what he wants. That's the feeling, is like, this is my ultimate desire.
It's not like an acceptable horny. It's like, it's a,
no, it's randy.
Yeah. It's a thing that just drives him and compels him. And it's something that has to be hidden, and something, that may or may not provoke shame. And, it's just something that's so overwhelming, and I think that is really, really conveyed in this.
And it's real and vulnerable. I mean, Marco puts his obsessions and his fetishes and all this on display for everyone to see without any apology, without any remorse. I mean, he's laying it on the line. Yeah, no
disclaimers.
No disclaimers.
Yeah, it's great.
And I also love that line too. And it's something about it so Italian. Ice cream, to me, there's something Italian about like having an ice cream, like walking around with an ice cream
gelato
or I feel like there's scenes in giallos where someone's, girls are walking around with ice cream cones. I don't know. I can't think of one offhand, but there has to be. For some reason, it just really was like, yes, that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
God, it's so. Just this whole album is just, I don't know. We were all so blown away about it, I think.
And you weren't really familiar with this one before, right?
No, we don't have it.
This is one we don't have, so we weren't super.
It's now one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. And
they're all my favorite, is what I've realized.
Yeah,
my favorite.
I mean, totally. I mean, leading up to this, we last night we had Woundfucker on, and
that was my first.
Oh, God. And again, Woundfucker, perfect example of like so much of that. Because it's coming from him and his guts and his obsessions and his heart and the way he frames it. Everything is it's just so real and right for him, and done by someone else or framed in another way, it wouldn't be right, and it wouldn't work. But he makes it work because it is him and only him, and it's purely him.
Well, sometimes it's his sister.
I think his sister is making an appearance on track 9, Miss Self-Destruct.
I thought that he was being choked out during this track. I could only picture like a plastic bag over his head. It's so like choking and unintelligible.
Oh, well, he also has a very fantastic song about putting plastic bags over his head.
Yeah.
And
Not on this record.
And
but,
a great picture of that on Death Orgasm Connector, the picture at the plastic bag.
It's amazing.
Which has made its way to a t-shirt.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is the one from Death Orgasm Connector, or is it a different...
I know what shirt you're talking about.
Asphyxia photo.
The shirt you're talking about is from a different thing. Yes, I do know that shirt.
Tronics made shirts of that back in the mid 2000s when he was doing all the noise band t-shirts. I have one somewhere.
Oh, wow. Jealous.
It's a good one.
Phil, hook us up, man.
Yeah. It starts with this laughter and this just nasty buzzing drone with a high tone. And you said being choked. In my notes, I wrote down air out of a balloon.
Yes, it did sound like that. Absolutely did.
You guys nailed it. I mean, you guys absolutely nailed that. This one I thought was incredibly giallo. Like it's so just tortured, really. And the unchanging tone is it's the perfect bed for the derangement that is the rest of the track.
Yes. Yeah.
'Cause this is deranged. I mean, this is deranged
Truly.
music, and God, yeah, we just had the chills. We were all just kind of like, oh my God,
And this was day 2. And so the next song, Obsessed by Images, is the last song of day 2.
This is the weirdest synth sound on the entire record. It's insane.
High tone mania.
Yeah, just this warble, a falling note, so insane.
I thought this song was brilliant. Like I just thought it was perfect.
Well, this is the shame rearing its head to me. This is after the full frenzy, the full sexual frenzy of high heels inside my throat. This is I'm obsessed by images. My eyes can't watch anymore. And he's talking to himself. He's trying to tell himself that he has to do better. I think he's telling himself what his problem is, and then he needs to fix that.
Yeah, cool off, guy. Cool
Yeah,
off.
I'm obsessed by images. My eyes can't watch anymore. I love it. I took to writing down some of the lyrics in these when they wasn't just repeating the title, but I love, and you mentioned the final track here, Monomaniac, and that's a perfect way to think. It's like the right kind of closing track for the album, although there is a hidden track afterwards. Yes. But it is, these pieces all have, they're just a synth and a vocal. And he's just so focused and obsessed on one style and one thing for all of these, recorded 3 days apart and almost a year apart, from March of 99 to January of 2000. And he just kept the feeling. And it's like that impulse control we were talking about is like, I feel like Marco doesn't necessarily have it. And when he goes to record, he goes many tracks, like full on, and he's in the mood, he's in the zone, and he's where he wants to be, and he just unleashes it, and I love it. He can't contain it anymore is what it feels like.
To me, the images that he's discussing are these images that come to life in the exact moment that he's talking about. And again, it's kind of like what Tara was talking about, how much he was so in the moment, and he even said he would always say he said he was dead, and he would always say that he was dead, and that he died, he dies and is reborn all the time, and he said every breath
is reborn,
is death and rebirth, and every orgasm was death and rebirth, and every sleep was death and rebirth, and that was him. This is truly his beliefs and his, the way he saw life. He saw life as death.
And you talk about somebody living in a moment, like he allows himself to be overwhelmed by the moment and overwhelmed by himself, and can it seemingly barely hold it back at times. And, who can't who can't identify with that in some way.
And I think kind of what you're saying, this idea of the, kind of the, not maybe not regret's the right word, but yeah, the aftermath, I think is really highlighted in the next track, Disgusted.
Yeah, I think it begins here, and then the final
totally
day. The final day is the sort of realization and coping and loathing of his shame cycle.
He let it loose, and now he realizes what happened.
Yeah, and I'm disgusted. You disgust me. I disgust myself. Over and over, like this high synth tone. But then there's this weird, one of the coolest sounds I have heard, and I said there's the weirdest synth on Obsessed by Images, but this one has this, like, it bottoms out. It's this nasty high thing, and then every now and again he's messing with the synth, and it bottoms out into this, like, low, empty, hollow black space that's so cool. Every time it comes in, I'm just trying to listen to it, and then it goes away a little too quick and leaves me like wanting more. It just keeps me on the edge of, like, when's that sound I love gonna come back?
To me, that sound was pulling me into All the Colors of the Dark.
That's
where I was going. And I think he also says there is another line. I think he's saying crazy cycle of corruption.
It's a crazy cycle.
Crazy
cycle or circle.
I think he's a crazy circle of corruption. And what I love about that is, yes, he's saying he's disgusted, and he's disgusted by himself and in these things, but there is this feeling of, like, he knows he's going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like he knows he's going to do it in the future. He knows that he's going to ramp up again, but right now he's disgusted with himself. And part of his disgust is he knows he's going to do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. Wow.
We've all been there.
Yeah, exactly.
We've all been there.
I know. I said, who hasn't felt this? Like, I mean,
in whatever form of life, it doesn't even have to be what he's talking about. It's, you can take Atrax Morgue and apply it to so many things in your life, and that's why it's so powerful, and that's why it will continue to be powerful as as the years continue on. We're going to keep looking back at this, and it's going to be more powerful every year. That's how this stuff goes. His eyes,
he execrates them. It's almost pleasing when that synth tone comes in before the feedback starts.
Well, that synth tone and the synth tone on this track almost sounds like strings.
Yeah.
And it is one. It does feel like it's one key the entire time, but it's the most string sounding. And then it did remind me. It just felt very giallo. It felt like you were.
Oh yeah.
And yes, I know what you mean. It was almost like, oh, this is semi. Not soothing, a little bit soothing. Maybe it was a little bit soothing.
It's the most normal sound on the record.
I guess compared to the rest of the record.
I thought this track is possessed, absolutely just possessed and overwhelmed by personal demons.
This is it.
Yeah,
he
absolutely
is just sick of whatever he's been taking in, what he's been seeing, whatever, be it pornography, horror movies, death images, whatever he's been soaking in, and he's disgusted and embarrassed and ashamed of it, and he hates his eyes for making them see such things.
Yeah.
And you feel it. It's there. That's the thing, is that the energy just feels so real on all of these pieces that it's not corny. It's not it doesn't come off soft. It comes off like he fucking hates himself.
Oh wait, I have a fun quote that kind of relates to both of those things you were just discussing.
All right.
He says, "Hate is important. I can't live without hate. It is like love. It's very energetic." And then he says, "Love, it's like hate. It's very hard to live without it. But simply you have to love yourself first to become your own object of desire."
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's great.
Just another level.
It's somebody who feels things. It's not somebody who's dead inside. It's somebody who feels hate deeply. It's somebody who feels love deeply. It's somebody who is attempting to be self-aware. And when they have those flashing moments of awareness, then, the unhinged qualities appear, and the paranoia and the self-loathing and all of those things kind of wrapped into one.
Well, and yeah, exactly. There's nothing dead inside about Marco, like you're saying, and this idea that he thinks he's dead. It's not. I don't think of it like he's this blank dead thing inside. For him, death is more feeling and more emotions and more. He's so tuned into those things and digests them in this in his completely unique way. It's obsession. I mean, that's it. That's the thing throughout his.
It's being consumed by your obsession.
Yes,
not just being obsessed, but not being able to control that.
And I think something that Tara and I were discussing when we were listening to Atrax Morgue last night is, I think especially the three of us, and I'm sure a lot of people listening understand obsessions, whether or not it's something as simple as obsession with a synth, you know what I mean, or obsession with synths, or obsession with sound, or obsession with whatever. It doesn't matter. I think that something that binds a lot of people that we know together, a lot of our friends and associates and people we play with and all this stuff is, I think obsession is the overriding thing that we can all relate to.
And you clearly, if you're listening to Noise Extra, you clearly have, specific interests and into something that you have to seek out. It's not like this is coming at you and it just happens. It's something that you're actually looking for, and you have to be driven to find this. And so, the entire time we were discussing him, I'm like, this is the most relatable person that we've discussed. And I know it seems like a strange thing to say, but just being so driven and consumed by your passions, I think that we all, know that feeling and can relate to it and can empathize in a way where you feel sorry for them, but also can empathize in a way where you're like, that's amazing. Because if you can't relate to that, then what do you have? If you have no passion, then that's somebody who is truly depressed. That is somebody who's truly sad, because at least something is pushing you forward and driving you on. And that's what's so exciting about it. If it's positive, if it's negative, if it's love, if it's hate, you're alive because you're feeling something.
And he even said, the positive and negative is important to exist, both. He said that in interviews.
Yeah, you can't just exist in one.
It's both forces working together is what creates, what creates this, what creates passion and obsession.
There's so much tension on this CD that just builds and builds and builds. And I'm sure he felt it when he was recording. And we come to the end proper of the CD, which is Monomaniac. And he lets it all out here. I cannot understand what he's saying.
Yeah, none of us. We were all like, does anyone understand it? No one did.
No.
The synths are this just black swirl.
It's going it's just fast, warble, modulated synth. And just demented, delayed vocals. No clue what he's saying. Occasionally there's another synth buzz that rips on in, and I just wrote in my notes that the monomaniac is Marco.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
And this too, it's like it's losing yourself and gaining yourself and giving in to yourself and understanding yourself, and it's all of it together. It's all being swirled in this black synth stew.
I thought it was Sounds of Madness. It's absolute madness.
Totally.
Because everything is so, schizophrenic and you can hold on to it and then it just disappears in your hand.
Yeah, it's, oh my God. Yeah, what a way to end the album proper and to end this whole kind of thing that he's taken us on throughout this whole CD. And it's a perfect end to the main album.
I just love this one, and I'm really glad that we picked this one to listen to.
I am too.
I'm
so glad we picked this one.
But we could have done anything.
That's the thing. I think we have all, like I said, we have all mentioned multiple Atrax Morgue albums to be like, I think we should do that one. I think we should do that one. At the end of the day, it was going to be whatever one we did, we were going to be so psyched on.
Yeah.
And I'm super psyched. Tara and I are both super psyched it was this one because it was one we weren't familiar with. And
for me, it's one that I've been listening to for a long time. So it just feels right to do it.
Then it ends with a unlisted coda, really.
Yeah, and he's done this on a couple of the CDs where there's just a synth tone, and then in my notes I wrote sounds like sex to me.
Yes, it's obviously
it's pornographic for sure.
Yeah, it's obviously a pornographic movie that's kind of run through a couple effects. There's a kind of almost a rhythmic synth, really, a death obsessed rhythmic synth. And to me, what this is Monomaniac ends everything, and then he just leaves the room and this is like it's an empty room with this movie playing and the synth going, but he's left the room.
I saw this as the cycle starting again. and
Okay,
now
cool,
he's
cool.
he's getting back into the like we might as well hit play again. when
Oh,
this is over.
cool. Hey, hey, cool way to think about it.
I like your interpretation too.
Yeah.
Both are correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he
That's-
did say every time you come, you die and are born again. So
Yeah. No, I mean, but just a great way to end just to kind of leave you with this kind of long. It's actually the longest track on the CD, but yeah, it's just this great way to kind of let everything just either you're starting over again or you're walking out the room, but either way, you're gonna want to listen to more Atrax Morgue after the CD ends. That's the thing.
And again,
100%.
Yeah.
Atrax Morgue, not CDs that you want to listen to at work. Not safe for
Not
work.
safe for wimps.
Yeah, not safe for wimps. I mean, I guess it depends. Like if you work in like a sex shop or something, maybe a record store.
If you work in a sex shop and play Atrax Morgue, email Gray at NoiseExtra.
we want to be your friend.
But seriously, this Marco was just a true driving force, a huge person in terms of like industrial noise, power electronics, networking, and releasing artists from all over, and really just like having a true vision that sometimes seems lacking these days. And I get just the breadth of his work and that how much work he had put in, how hard he tried to continue to get stuff out there and to make sure it all fit his vision is one of those things that I really admire. So it's a really special thing to think about, and that we're lucky that we've had people like this involved in this kind of music that were so dedicated and passionate and true to themselves.
Absolutely.
And yeah, again, I hope everyone right after this ends, put on Paranoia, put on Sickness Report, put on Woundfucker, put on Death Orgasm Connector, put on Overcome.
No more.
It's just whatever. Mortar Machine.
Listen to Mortar Machine. Listen to some of the tapes. There's a bunch of great tapes. There's a million. I mean, there's been a ton of reissues of the stuff, like on vinyl and stuff in the last few years. You know me, I'm a sucker for the CD format these days. So I like to get the CDs and pop them in and just let them rip.
Yeah, put them on. Explore your obsession.
And
We're not responsible for any filthy things you do while listening to it.
We're absolutely not. We're washing our hands of that responsibility. Tara, why don't you take us out with a very simple but to the point quote from Marco about himself and about Atrax Morgue.
Atrax Morgue is only me, and I am alone. You have been listening to Noise Extra. I'm Tara Connolly, here with Mike Connolly and Gray Holger. Noise Extra is brought to you by Chondritic Sound, a home to noise artists for over 17 years. By Verdant Weapons, maker of quality contact microphones and noise devices, and by our Patreon supporters. Thank you. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/noiseextra, and your support really helps. You can find us on Instagram at noiseextra, on the web at noiseextra.com, 1 E in all of those, and on Twitter at noiseextra. That has 3 A's. Thank you for listening to us and to Noise.